Hi, my name is Matt Dunnigan, and I would like to talk to you today about Thomas Jefferson's legacy. Jefferson is an individual who is very interesting. In the context of his legacy, the most important and telling part has to be his commitment to religious liberty. Yes, the Declaration of Independence is important, and it's part of this discussion. His deal with slavery and that, but I feel like the thing he contributed to the most had to be religious freedom. Jefferson laid a strong foundation when you talk about religious freedom with the Declaration of Independence, appealing to nature's God and a creator. He continued it when he was in the Virginia legislature by instituting some legislation about the need for religious freedom in the country. And then finally, you see that during his presidency in a letter to the Danbury Baptist. However, while these two pieces of history and all this are important, I think it's the Danbury Baptist is probably his most important letter for his legacy as far as religious freedom is because it's the most often used. When you hear anything about religious freedom and separation of church and state, you most automatically point to the First Amendment. And while the separation of church and state is not in there, it's most often applied to that. I think his legacy has been discussed a bit, and I think it's actually tarnished because of the misappropriation of what Jefferson really meant. So his legacy of religious freedom began with the Declaration of Independence. It states, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bonds or political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station by which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. He starts right off the bat talking about God and establishing that he is using religion as a centerpiece for the colonies split with England. While many might not see this as a call to religious liberty, it is obvious that Jefferson is using this freedom to express his religious views and with the setting up of a new country. The next step in Jefferson's legacy has to be his eventual passing of the Virginia Bill for establishing religious freedom. In a previous couple of videos and some papers that I've written for this class, we've talked about John Leland and Isaac Backus and their push for religious freedom, and Jefferson is in the same boat. This bill's goal was to disestablish the Church of England in the United States and set up freedom of conscience and freedom of religion in the fledgling country. As far as its legacy, Daniel Dreibach summarizes the bill by saying that this document is passionate and artfully crafted, and for over 2 centuries has proven to be a manifesto for intellectual freedom, not only in Virginia but across the nation and around the world. The arguments advanced in this bill have been woven into the fabric of American political thought, and in the course of the time, this conventional interpretation of this bill has been adopted as the orthodox principle of American church-state relations. And finally, the final piece of Jefferson's legacy is the letter to the Danbury Baptist, and I'll read this very quickly to you. It says, "The affectionate sentiments of esteem and approbation which you are so good as to express towards me on behalf of the Danbury Baptist Association give me the highest satisfaction. My duties dictate a faithful and zealous pursuit of the interests of my constituents. And in proportion as they are persuaded of my fidelity to those duties, the discharge of them becomes more and more pleasing. Believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and God, that he owes account to none other for his faith and his worship, that the legitimate powers of the government reach actions only and not opinions, I contemplate with sovereign reverence the act of the whole American people which declared that their legislators should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Adhering to this expression of the supreme will of the nation in behalf of the rights of conscience, I shall see with sincere satisfaction the progress of these sentiments, which tend to restore man in all his natural rights, convinced he has no natural right in opposition to his social duties. I reciprocate your kind prayers for the protection and blessing of the common Father and Creator of man, and tender you for yourselves and your religious association assurances of my high respect and esteem, Thomas Jefferson, January 1st, 1802. In this letter is a phrase that is pulled out of context of Jefferson's true intentions, a wall of separation of church and state. In an email interview I had with Dr. Daniel Dreibach, he stated that Jefferson used this language in the Danbury Baptist Association letter to affirm the principle of federalism, that it was the distinction between the national government and the state government that Thomas Jefferson was talking about, a wall of separation, and that it was not so much between church and state, but the states were going to make their own choices about religion. That's why in the First Amendment it says Congress shall make. No, it has nothing to do with the state. The phrase today is often used, Dreibach continues, to remove religion from public life. He says this exceeds the requirement of the First Amendment, and we see that all over our country. So while Thomas Jefferson does have a lasting legacy, his legacy has been tarnished by those taking his words of his letter of to the Danbury Baptist Association and twisting them and contorting them to their own political gains. Jefferson's legacy is without a doubt there in American history, but I think it should be one completely different than we see it today. Thank you.